Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. It is currently Monday afternoon and it feels a lot later than it actually is, but it's only about 2:30 in the afternoon. The days are getting so short and kind of by 4:30 I'm ready to kind of like settle in for the night. So I'm finding I'm coming out into the garden around 2-3 in the afternoon to kind of do my afternoon little pottering jobs in the garden or do a walk around to see what needs to be done that week. And I thought I would bring you along for a little walk around the garden to pick some jobs that we might want to tackle over the next week, and then I can film those jobs as well. But first I kind of just need to get my head straight and kind of do a little bit of an overview of the garden to see what needs to be done. And I can also just update you on some projects that I've been working on that I haven't really filmed but have been very busy working on in the background. So if you are new here, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining in on a video. My name is Robyn and I live here on the south coast of New South Wales with my partner and our 2 cats. We run a small flower farm here in our backyard. We also have permaculture gardens that I'll walk through, and I grow everything organically and like to kind of garden alongside nature. So that's my gardening style. It's definitely not formal, pristine looking gardens. It's very messy, unkept, cottage, whimsical. We'll go with whimsical, I say. I also haven't been able to garden as much as I would like to lately. I've had a few health problems that I'm working through getting to the other side of those, but it has prevented me from doing a lot in the garden. We've also been really busy with markets. We had a market just this last weekend. I didn't do a vlog for it just because I haven't been feeling up to just picking the camera up all the time, but it went really well and we sold out of flowers at the market, sold lots of organic produce as well, and just had a lovely time connecting with our community. We've also got a lot of markets coming up. We're starting a fortnightly market, so I really need to get my act into gear with the flower farm and actually make sure I'm on top of everything. So I'll take you around now, show you what things are looking like and some plans for the garden and what I'm going to be working on over the next few weeks. But make sure to grab a cup of tea or coffee or a snack. Definitely would recommend a snack. I'm going with a good old cup of tea today to join me on my afternoon walk in the garden. And yeah, I hope you enjoy seeing what is going on in this crazy garden at the moment. Alright, so this here is my cottage permaculture style garden where I have a lot of medicinal plants, herbs, veggies, and a lot of flowers as well. I like to keep it just really diverse, bring a lot of biodiversity into this area. It's also directly next to the house, and we like to sit out here and just enjoy the backyard area. We did have our worm farms here, but we've since moved them to the other side of the house. I'll actually show you what they look like. So they're all on this side of the house right now. I did pick up another worm farm here. $10 from Facebook Marketplace. Doesn't have legs, but that doesn't matter. I have bricks that I have just popped that on, and it was actually completely full when I bought it. So I've used the worm castings on an area that I will show you. I'll take you there. But this is the worm farm area. We're getting a lot of worm castings from this little production area. We have 2 worm farms here that's just for food scraps and like other garden waste. Then we have 2 here that we add food scraps in, as well as the cat waste. So whatever comes out of the kitty litter, if you know what I mean, goes in these 2 along with food scraps, and then we use that in the garden where we don't have edible plants, more like on natives and fruit trees and things like that. But yeah, that's next to the garden here. This is where I planted all of those jonquil bulbs and spiraxis. They haven't come up yet, but it hasn't been too long. And then we move over to the garden. I am about to empty this compost bin. That's going to be a video either before or after this. I don't know when, but it will be emptied. I'll show you what it looks like in that video. And then this is what the garden's looking like. So we'll start from the front of the garden. Also, the cats are definitely wanting to be out here with me. Not happy at all. It's not good. Anyway, we'll take them out for their afternoon supervised walk soon. But yeah, this is what's happening. My mum has been here to help me so much in the garden with just weeding and keeping on top of things. So she started to weed this pathway that was totally overrun and overgrown with calendula and strawberries. I have so many strawberry runners here. The plants are really healthy. It's just that the bandicoot and other nighttime creatures eat all of the strawberries. So I'm going to have to probably move them and cage them or net them. But yeah, for now I really need to come through and weed it. It's looking ridiculous. The lamb's ear also, it's this plant here, really needs to just be cleaned up. I want to kind of have a little bit more of a defined curve here so that I can have this rose breathe a little bit more. It's always really been quite sad in this spot, and I think I just need to work on the soil around it and obviously not have it being choked by the lamb's ear. Other than that, in here we have a few herbs like my beautiful thyme, some parsley, more Italian leaf parsley that we sell at the markets, some leeks in there, rosemary that I sell at the markets, lots of calendula that I'm going to be drying really soon. Catmint needs to be trimmed back. That'll be an upcoming garden with me probably. And then this area here, my mum weeded. There was lots of grasses in here, and I'm going to be planting my brassicas in here. I think it's going to be a nice little area where I can walk into and have them planted around here. There's lots of beautiful compost that's been laid in here when I had the tomatoes planted, so I think that's going to be really nice. And the society garlic is also really growing and clumping up. That's the word I was looking for. Which kind of has like a nice accent to the start of the garden. Next to that is all of the creeping oregano that's on the ground and some coriander that's going to seed. Another thing I thought I would also highlight in this little tour is just some plants that are self-seeding really readily, really easily, and plants that if you want kind of like a cottage vibe, maybe you could plant these. One of those is poppies. I have so many poppies that are sprouting. I'll put the name of this poppy on the screen, but it's an orange poppy and I love the foliage on it. I don't love the flowers. Let's see if I can find one of the flowers. Yeah, I don't think any of them are blooming right now, but they kind of just take over. But if you do have a larger area where you just want some self-sown flowers, poppies are a really great one to plant in your garden. Over this side, you can see I have lots of random linaria popping up, which is another one that self-seeds itself really easily. This is one of my favorite flowers to use in arrangements. I just love the dainty look of it. I think they're called mini snapdragons as well, because they do have that kind of look. I do find starting these from seed a little tricky, and I think that they would do well just kind of like sown straight directly into the ground, but I'm still trying. I'm going to try another succession and see if they grow. But yeah, that's definitely one that I would recommend if you would just like some beautiful winter flowers throughout the garden. The rose here is coming to the point where I really need to trim it back. It's still got some beautiful blooms. This rose is called Grace. It's a David Austin rose, and you can see I'm learning with roses how to take care of them. But yeah, they really need to It needs to be just deadheaded, I think, and just given some love. You can see all of the poppies here that have self-sown themselves. Got some yarrow here, and then all of this was weeded by my mum, which is amazing. The feverfew is almost ready to come out, but this is another one that self-seeds itself a lot, and I'll show you another position over that area of the garden where one is self-seeding itself. Got the Westringia here. This is a coastal rosemary. It's not an actual rosemary plant, but I love using it in arrangements. It lasts a long time and it just grows so well here because it is a native variety of plant. Again, this was covered in weeds and now I can walk through it. Yay. So much more linaria coming up, which I'm so happy about. I have a few more leeks that they're starting to get some good size, which is good, next to the viola, which again, self-sown, a great plant to have if you would like a ground cover for those shady, moist areas. Does really, really well. And then there's just lots of more strawberries, some sage, the jonquils are coming back. These are the ones that I planted last year, along with a radish that is going to seed. On this side of the garden we have lots of calendula that's self-seeding itself. It's a beautiful plant, but you will get a lot of seedlings if you do plant it in your garden and let it flower and go to seed. This is what the seed head looks like. It will dry out and all of these little seeds will become new plants. So they're a great variety to kind of grow and just have around the garden if you need something to be planted. They're really great for borders. They attract aphids, so they're kind of like, like a trap crop where the aphids will go to this plant rather than your vegetables. And they also just boost biodiversity so much in the garden because the bees love the flowers. And I also love the flowers because I use these to make my calendula balm and use in my bath salts as well. So I need to come and dry a lot of these flowers for those. Okay, so in here, this is an example of the feverfew. So I have a big feverfew plant here and you can see I've left some of them, and then here is the tiny little seed head after it's flowered. And it's literally like dust, the seeds. They're so small and I would love them around the garden. So I've just been letting them do their thing, and you can see one here, one here. I'm going to pot these up and actually transplant them and move them down to the flower farm because I would love a whole row of these because their flowers, the little daisy-like flowers, look so beautiful in arrangements. So I just want a whole row. They're just such a great plant that I've learnt that I love in the flower farm. And next to that, I did try and get a lot of them out, but they're still here. They've come back, and that is all of this borage. It's not a very nice name for a plant, but it is a really great plant. It's a bioaccumulant of nutrients, so it kind of accumulates nutrients from further below the soil, brings them up to the top, and has beautiful little purple, blue flowers. Does get quite large, so I'm definitely going to take a lot of these out, but I may have a few, maybe like that one there, I'll keep on the ends, just because the bees do love them. So yeah, borage is another plant that is going wild and self-seeding itself in my garden. This side of the garden is still a mess. I'm yet to go through and weed it. I haven't really done anything to this area, so there's not too much that has changed. But I did want to show you some of my lavender is putting on these weird double heads like that one and this one. I don't really know what's going on with it, but I've been cutting a lot of this lavender to use in bouquets, and I've been drying a lot, so it has had a lot of harsh cutbacks, but I just thought it was interesting. Let me know if your lavender does this. But other than that, we've got the little fairy garden still in there, and the rhubarb's been going really well. I have been propagating that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I need to grab my cup of tea and we'll walk down to the larger flower farm area. That sun is super bright, but on the way, this is a little update of the dahlias. I am putting them all to sleep now. So what that means is basically they're going to die back a little bit, and I will be lifting the tubers and storing them so that I can divide them for planting next spring. I am also letting a lot of them go to seed. So you can see one of these seed pods here. And I'll play around with the seeds and see what kind of varieties I get. I always find that super fun to see what kind of genetic makeup is of a new plant from when you're saving seeds. With dahlias, when you save the seeds of the plant, it's not always the same as the actual mother plant. It's rarely ever the same, pretty much. But if you do save the tubers of that plant, that will be true to the flowers that you had of the plant that you got the tubes from, if that makes sense. There's so many videos on dahlia genetics and saving dahlia seeds and tubers that I'm still very much learning. Yeah, that's something that I'm working on and learning, and I had some really great tips from Michaela from Planting with Michaela. She had a flower farm over in England, has since moved back to Australia, starting her own flower farm, another flower farm here. She's done so much work and I'm very inspired and motivated by her. But yeah, she has some great tips on dahlia storing and flower farming in general. So I'm going to try store the dahlias just in like cardboard boxes. Check on them every now and again, just because we're quite close to the coast here, so the humidity is a lot higher than it is inland and in higher areas. So I'm thinking it's going to be okay without storing it in like moist potting soil or garden soil. So yeah, I'm just going to see how that goes. But if you have any dahlia storing tips, let me know, because this is the very first time that I'm trying. So I would love your input. The next part of the flower farm is where I planted all of the ranunculus and anemones. They are all looking great despite the bandicoot digging them up almost every night. In the morning I come out here with my gloves, my coat, because it's freezing in the mornings, and plant some of them back in. I'm yet to kind of find a solution other than netting the whole entire thing. For now it's only like one or two that they're digging up at night, and I can deal with that because I have so many in here. But I don't know, I may have to think of something else. So moving down from all of the ranunculus and anemones, we have kind of like a break in the two sections of the garden, and we move down into the larger flower farm area. Also, if you see Scott around, he's walking the cats. This is very much a work in progress garden. It is my way of doing a lazy, no dig, chop and drop kind of style garden. I get a lot of inspiration from Sean at Edible Acres. I love his content and I love what he does, and I'm trying to kind of replicate a lot of his methods in my garden. So basically it looks like a mess. I get that. I have been piling just organic matter and doing composting in place, which basically means that all of this material, which is weeds, most of which haven't gone to seed. We've got some kitty litter, which I know is gross, but I'll cover it with mulch. We've got leftover things from flower bouquets, scraps from the garden, pumpkin, everything, and it all breaks down. And this is an example of what it used to look like there to what it looks like after it is mulched. You kind of dig down a little bit, and the mulch breaks down into just this gorgeous material that the native plants really don't mind. So this is a leptospermum here, and this area has very moist soils. We have like all of this is like covered in water. When it rains, a lot of the time it doesn't drain very well. It also just needs something like a high carbon to soak up all of the nutrients to make it less anaerobic, and just add a little bit more carbon into this area. So while adding thick layers of mulch may not be great in areas where you want like a nice beautiful flower farm, when you're establishing native gardens and you have really clay, moist, horrible soils, something like this actually really works, where you're just piling on organic matter, letting it all break down a little bit, then adding a high carbon mulch on top of that, because all of this is full of nitrogen as well. So you want some carbon to kind of draw that nitrogen out. So that's the method to the madness of this area here, work in progress. To combat a lot of the wet soils and the clay that we have, I've planted a lot of Phacenia nodosa, I think that's how you say it. It's the knobby club rush. It's a native mat rush kind of plant. I have a lot of veggies self-seeding itself, but probably won't eat this just because it was around kitty litter. Same as all of this. This was broad beans that I had piled on here and then mulched on top of. I'm just going to chop and drop this, add more organic material back into the soil. So sorry about the dogs in the background. I wanted to try and get this done before people started walking their dogs past other dogs, which then don't like that. So anyway, some more knobby club rush. I've got a banksia in here that's starting to pick up. All of this is going to be chopped and dropped to add more nutrients back into the soil. I've got another leptospermum here that's looking great. The neighbour actually has a macadamia here, which has self-seeded itself to some little macadamia trees. So I'm going to try and propagate that and move that. Some hydrangeas here that I had just scraps from have grew, so that's cool. I'm going to pot these up so I have lots more hydrangea plants. I have a fig that has self-seeded itself from birds, I'm assuming. I don't know who has a fig around us, but someone obviously does. A gorgeous tea tree here, lemon tea tree, really pretty. It is almost my height, which is great because it was teeny tiny when I planted it. This is just all material that has been chopped and dropped here, that will break down over time, and I'll come through and mulch it all. I've got another leptospermum here that has very like purple leaves. I think this is called Starry Night, this variety. I've got a Annie who wanted to say hello. Don't worry, she's being supervised by Scott, so she doesn't go far, and all the birds and things around are safe. Another leptospermum, I think this is Leptospermum morrisoni. I can't remember what that is. And a few more leptospermums down here. This is oh, I know the name of it. It's like covered in white flowers. I'll put the name of it up on the screen, but it's something. It's beautiful. We'll walk back and I'll quickly show you what's blooming in the flower farm area. This is turning out to be a longer tour than I thought, but I'm hoping you're enjoying your cups of tea and your snacks while you have a look at my messy garden beds and everything that's going on in the garden. I kind of went through all of this in a previous vlog, so I won't dwell on it too much, but this is all pincushion flowers planted here. The other day I started to plant some stock. This is all of the stock. Well, this is 1 out of 3 trays of the stock and my cup of tea that I'm slowly getting through. And I was planting them through this row, and each night the bandicoots come along and dug them all out. So I've honestly just given up a little bit. I do have all of these as spares. I'm just going to have to come through and net it until they get more established and Mr. Bandicoot can't come and dig them up. Other than that, the main two things that are flowering right now is all of the statice that I've been harvesting and adding into bouquets, and also drying some as well. And the zinnias, still have lots of zinnias, which are looking a little sad, and a lot of them are really short stems. But I actually just made a lot of mason jar arrangements that I'll pop some photos up for the market on the weekend, and we sold out of them, so I think I'm just going to do that again for the next market because they do really well. A lot of the leaves have mildew on them, so I try to avoid not picking from these, but the stems on a lot of them are actually quite healthy. So we have all of these. All of the envy zinnias are coming out. This is it's supposed to be a green, but it kind of looks like a yellowy green. And this is a lot of the queen limes that these are looking quite sad with mildew just because it's a bit colder in this patch. So I haven't really been focusing on these. But there is a few good usable stems that we can use. I've got 3 beds down here that need to be planted and netted from Mr. Bandicoot. I need to come through and just mulch this one again, mulch that, and weed all of the pathways in this bed. The raspberries are doing quite well. This is all covered in frost this morning. It was very icy, but obviously they'll be quite slow over winter, but they'll pick back up when the weather starts to warm up. I've also been creating new garden beds around the place, or focusing on one garden bed at the moment, and that's this one behind me here, where I've been doing another no-dig garden bed. I have done this before up in the cottage garden, and I'll leave the video link to how I create no-dig beds in the garden, where I basically add cardboard and then lots of layers of organic material over the top of that. But I'll take you down and show you what this looks like. Being really good. Okay, Rocky has decided to model the garden bed. Don't worry, Scott is literally right there. Yep, he's dealing with the craziness that is the cats in their afternoon zoomies. We had this kind of like corrugated metal edging we just picked it up from Bunnings. We were going to use it somewhere else, but then we didn't end up using it. It was sitting in the shed, and I was deciding what I wanted to do with this area, because I knew I didn't want grass, because we have people who help out with mowing this property, and it's getting a little hard to mow between all of these small trees. So I decided to make a little garden bed here around all of these homolanthus, or bleeding hearts they're also called. They're a native pioneer tree, and they're one of my favorite trees of this area. I absolutely love them, and I love the canopy that they provide. It's a really beautiful dappled light, and I think that's going to look really pretty here, having 3 of them in the middle. And around all of these, I'm actually going to plant it with rhubarb to have kind of like a little bit more of a food forest down in this area, where I want to plant more food trees, have some rhubarb, have some little pebble stones or stones going through here to have a little walkway, and have an understory of pebble, and have an understory of rhubarb, and an understory of a little girl, Annie, who isn't supposed to really be in here. So it's time to move on. No? Okay. She's not having a bar of that. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. How I did it, I added some cardboard to the grass, straight to the grass, added worm castings, a little bit of potting mix that was left over from other pots that I had that I didn't end up planting the plants. I had a lot of coffee grounds from the local cafe, some comfrey leaves to break down, and then mulched it all with sugarcane mulch to help weigh it down and make it look a little nicer, and obviously have a little bed for Annie. So I'm hoping you can kind of like see my vision. I'm hoping you can see it. I do have a lot of other larger native trees planted around this area. They're all still very small, and a lot of them are slow growing. This is a coda, it's a native deciduous tree. Got a Davidson plum there, some acacias, kangaroo apple. This acacia is almost my height. This is acacia maydenii. And the plan is to have like a nice pathway walking around the beautiful pear tree and through the kind of food forest area that I'm going to be planting a lot more understory plants to bulk out this area. So that was quite the chat. I hope you enjoyed the chat and the little tour of what's going on in the garden and the flower farm right now. It's getting a little chilly this afternoon. Yeah, I don't know if you enjoy these kind of videos as much as like productive garden with me's, but I still really just want to document what's happening in the garden, what it looks like at different times of the year, because we've really done a lot in the garden. Like none of any of this was here. No native plants, no plants basically down the whole end of this garden. It all used to just be grass, and we're slowly getting there to have it how we want it. I mean, is a garden ever done? I don't think so. It's always a work in progress. And yeah, for the time we're going to live here, which I honestly don't know how long that's going to be, I really want to enjoy it and create a space that I can enjoy creating, like being creative, and growing things and learning how to grow things in a bit more of a cooler environment, because this is definitely very different to the subtropics where I'm used to growing things. If at any point you saw something that you had questions of, or you would like me to do a little bit more of an in-depth tour / explanation, I'm more than happy to do that. It is like doing this walk made me realize like how much is actually going on, because I didn't even touch on a few of the things, like all of the seedlings that I've got going right now, and the plans to plant out all of the beds, and just managing all of the different flower farm seedlings and seed sowing that I've been doing, which has been a really big learning curve for me. And I'm slowly putting together like a what I wish I would have known before I started flower farming video, which I'm hoping may be useful to you all. But yeah, I'll end this video off by just showing what my seed area is looking like in terms of all of the seedlings, because there is a lot there. I won't chat through it this time, but I might do a what I'm sowing and growing now video if you're interested in that, because I am not just focusing on flowers, I'm also growing veggies and trying to grow organic produce so that we can enjoy that in the kitchen. And managing that and the flowers has been hard, because my mind always goes to flowers, because that's what I'm trying to profit off and, you know, have the business of. But I am still sowing and growing veggies, pretty much just focusing on everything that comes from the Whitbird Environmental Seed Subscription Pack, which I do have a discount for if you're ever interested in a gift for someone, or you would just like a few seeds sent to you each month that are tailored to like that time of the year. I definitely have a look in the description box, because all of that information is in there. And yeah, we are going to head inside. Scott's got the cat. Say hi, Annie. Say hi. Not interested. Yeah, we're going to take the cats in, relax a little bit, and I'll do some more. Well, I'm going to relax. Scott's got to keep working. And I'll do some more updates and videos shortly. Thank you for bearing with me in terms of the sporadic videos that are coming out now. It really has been a bit of a difficult time with lots of hospital visits and lots of things that have just made life very, very difficult. But I appreciate you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, congratulations, and thank you so much for watching and just being here. I'd love to know what's happening in your garden right now. What are you sowing? What are you growing? What are you harvesting? I know it's an exciting time for both here in the southern hemisphere and also in the northern hemisphere, where there's probably a lot more intense growing happening. But I know all of you up in the subtropics and the tropics are really busy in your gardens right now when the weather is kind of cooling down a little bit. So let me know in the comments. I would love to know what's happening, and thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next one, happy gardening everyone. Bye. Doesn't want to go inside. Inside time. Come here. Rocky. Excuse me. You'll have to run and chase them.